welcome to my bedroom. This will be an official tour of my paintings and, most frighteningly, my mind and the psychology behind the art I make, some of which is... well, you'll see. I feel like I just don't get to talk about art enough, but I know that I like warm, deep colors and art which kind of pretentiously means something to me. To me, art is very, very important. These pieces come with me everywhere. They're kind of an anchor for my sanity, and it takes a very long time for me usually to decide what I want to paint, what I want to call it, and what this thing will symbolize. All of my current paintings are now in the background of this video and most of my videos, and I've made them all in the last 6 years. There's not a lot because I really don't get to paint as much as I wish I could. Today I'm going to go through them one by one, what they are called and what their meaning is, and kind of the background of why I created this piece and how it was done. So let's get straight into it. "We crawl out of the womb surprised to be alone" is a quote by Adrienne Marie Brown, which I think beautifully captures this feeling of loneliness and sometimes anguishing isolation that we can feel, especially when we are around others and we feel alone. But on the other hand, I always felt as though there was this very beautiful thing captured in solitude. Especially bodies of water, waves, and the sea always have this power to kind of capture me, transport my mind, and make me feel so small and insignificant, and I always adored this feeling. The immediate perspective shift I can get when I'm around the sea is almost like a feeling of nature kind of putting me in my place and showing me how small I am, and it kind of washes away all my worries, and it's so liberating. Seeing as I'm quite rarely actually around the sea, in this little square I wanted to capture a part of that for me to see every single day. And with this painting in particular, so it's an oil painting, I really liked it when I first saw it because I feel as though the movement is just perfect. As this moment before the wave crashes, the curvature of it, the feeling that it gives me, almost as though I can hear the wave as it's crashing down, and also the fact that the colors are really rich and deep, I adore. I don't know if it's day or night, light or dark, sad or happy, so I can interpret it either way every time that I'm looking at it, depending on how I'm feeling. So it really transports me somewhere very powerful, and that's why it's also called For Your Eyes Only. It's meant to represent this peaceful solitude. "We all have the ability to make people feel the way that we felt when we were younger" is such a powerful quote from Dr. Kurt Konda, because I think it really shows that the impact of our childhoods and how that can affect us. And I think that when we're around people, people have a vibe. They have a very easy ability to make you feel a certain way, and that can oscillate wildly from feeling almost abusive and negative to something just feeling like tender warmth and peace. And I think that no matter what our childhoods were like, once we are adults, I think that we have a very strong responsibility to undo any sort of trauma or damage that we were given when we were younger, and to make the world a better place for ourselves and for other people. So the way that this ties with this painting is that this is a painting of Venus, which was the goddess of beauty and love in ancient Greece and ancient Rome, and she had an interesting birth story because she was born in fully adult form. So in this painting, as we see her, she looks like an adult, but technically she's just a baby because she's just arrived. So what this means to me is kind of the view that even though I can see her as being an adult, technically deep down she still has those same needs for love and affection and attention, and these desires are the same in everyone, no matter how grown we are, and sometimes we kind of express them in the same kicking, screaming, angry way that babies can do. And I think this kind of helps me kind of give people the benefit of the doubt that sometimes their negative reactions might be just because of these unmet childhood needs, which sometimes I can very easily forget if I'm frustrated. But on the other hand, it kind of reminds me to do that work myself and to recognize these childhood reactions in myself and to fulfill those needs in healthier ways than the negative ways that they might express themselves. As a piece itself, it's originally from Bouguereau, I'm not sure, but this is a huge, beautiful painting. It has this neoclassical feel to it, so it's really realistic, it's really soft, it's super detailed, none of which are true in my specific painting, but in the original one they definitely are. And I think it really fits this aesthetic and vibe that I really like, and also the fact that it has a woman on it, kind of this celebration of the female form in art, I think is so amazing. So I love it for all of those reasons. Also, ancient Greek mythology is very important to me because I used to be obsessed with it as a child, so it's also a slight nod towards that. But in general, it just ticks all the boxes for what I adore in paintings, and the title of it, The Birth of Venus, is just the original title from the original painting. In the library, I felt better. Words you could trust and look at till you understood them. They couldn't change halfway through a sentence like people, so it was easier to spot a lie, is a beautiful quote by Jeanette Winterson. There's a beauty in art and reading that I realised very early on, but took me a very long time to understand where it came from. I feel as though at the core of it, I just felt connected. And it took me a while to embrace the fact that I felt as though I was conversing or close to another human being. And this human being, the writer or a protagonist in the book, might be someone who definitely will never know that I ever existed, might be someone who has died hundreds of years ago, or it might be a character who is fictional, has never even existed at all. But yet they make me feel less alone and they make me feel connected with them in a certain way. And this was very, very important to me. The philosopher Proust also realized this when he said, it's almost as though we imagine the epic poet to be as foreign to us as an animal in a zoo. And I think that there's this constant separation that we have between us and the world. We're living internally and we're looking at things from our perspective and feeling as though we're often sometimes very alone. But I think the perspective that you can get through looking at art or through reading a book is kind of a window or a first person view in someone else's body, and you almost realize that this alien world is very similar to your own, and this connection is so profound. It also therefore means that many more places in the world almost feel like home because they're much more familiar than the isolation that we had before we accessed them. At some point in my life, I just let myself fall in love with it, or fall in love with the arts, fall in love with books, fall in love with reading. Again, Jeanette Winterson responded to the question of, does she often fall in love with, yes, often, with a view, with a book, with a dog, with a cat, with numbers, with friends, with complete strangers, with nothing at all. And so this painting captures that, the romance for the arts, the love for the arts. Originally, I think it is a photograph that used to be in Vogue, but I saw it and it just captured that moment, and I thought, no, this is perfect because I've been wanting something with this message for a very long time, so I thought I really had to make this painting. Again, like everything else, it's also an oil painting, but I'm really proud of this one because I painted the face for the first time in true colors, or I tried to get to true colors using primary colors only. So I mixed the skin tone myself and it's quite accurate, and for the very first time I managed to paint an accurate skin tone, so I'm super proud of that. And I think it's just really well done. I'm very proud of myself. And it's kind of a lonely painting, and I think I definitely painted it at a time of my life where I felt very isolated and by myself, but I still stick by it. I do love books, I do love art, and this is one of my favourite paintings of all time. So yes, this is why it's called the Statue of Liberty. It is the freedom of realising that you can feel connected from things that don't need to be other human beings and other people. There's always a place inside of you which has never been hurt is a beautiful quote by John O'Donoghue, and I think it is so accurate for Van Gogh. When Van Gogh, the original painter of this piece, made this painting, it was after he had signed himself into a mental health institution, after he's been struggling on and off with his mental health for a very long time. And the fact that he could be in potentially the lowest point in his life and he could look out of the window and go, that's beautiful, I want to paint that. That shows that there's always a part of us and an ability to remain self-aware and to remain inspired and to remain creative and to remain passionate about the world and everything that we see around us. And this is something that I always aspire to, especially my low moments. I don't think I have his strength, but I try to have it, and this painting sometimes reminds me of this. This is a very quick and easy painting to do, so if it resonates with anyone, I would really recommend trying it out. It's really good. But one other thing I want to say is that it's quite weird for me to like this sort of art. I didn't used to like impressionist or modern art, and I used to really prefer neoclassical or classical art, but I've looked very recently at some of Van Gogh's original paintings and my mind was blown. I think I just need to take a moment to say it is superhuman. You know the awe you have when you look at something hyper realistic? Well, you look at Van Gogh's paintings and they look even more incredible than the realistic ones. The amount of movement, and there's like thousands of shades of blue in this original painting. It's just absolutely mental, crazy. 100% would recommend. They're must be seen. They're so beautiful. If you ever get the chance, would definitely go and see his original work. Next, we move on to my lockdown collection, and slight warning, this is one that I struggle to explain to people, so let's see how that goes. But it's a bit of a weird one. You've been told, so let's get into it. Firstly, this was a photograph that I saw somewhere, and I had to do a double take, and it made me feel a bit weird, and I didn't understand why. I thought, is it uncomfortable? Am I uncomfortable because this is old people showing affection? I potentially haven't seen a lot of this. Why is this making me feel a certain way? So I guess kind of like lines in detention, I made myself kind of sit down and do this painting so I would get over the discomfort of seeing affection and love in really old people, and I think it worked really well. That was very effective. But most importantly, the title of this painting is called We Believe in the Winter, and I think it captures something which is very essential and core to who I am as a person. We Believe in the Winter is a phrase from a anecdote which I really like, and it's about two monks who were staying at a monastery and they were really struggling to stay put. They wanted to quit, and a lot of other monks at this time were quitting too. So what these two monks would tell each other was every summer they would say, we're going to leave in the winter, and every winter they would say, we are going to leave in the summer. And eventually they never left. They died in the monastery of old age, and they managed to stay there this whole time while so many people have quit. And I think what this represented to me was that the ability to stay in the state that you are currently in is perhaps better achieved with a promise for future change rather than kind of taking action in the moment, or on the other hand, promising yourself to never leave. And I think that this made me wonder if, the cure to commit to something is to promise yourself that it's temporary, because as someone who really struggles with commitment, I thought that potentially this would be a way to kind of hack my brain or reverse psychology myself into staying put or committing to things longer term, to think that, oh, it's just temporary, you're going to leave in the winter. So yeah, this is why I made this painting. I don't know if that made sense to everyone else. When people see it, they're like, oh, this is really cute, eternal love, I wish I could have that, and that's absolutely fine. But to me, it means that plus something even deeper. So hopefully I managed to explain that. If not, sorry for the weirdness, but yeah, let's move on. Next, we have Trick of the Light, and this is more of an exercise for me because I am a massively impatient person. Most of the paintings that you've seen so far have been done in a single sitting. I'm the sort of person who just wants to sit down, I'll sit for 20 hours, I don't need food, I just want to get this finished because I can't get up until it's done, and then I can't move my shoulder for a week. But this has been the way that I painted most of the time because I recognized this, and it was getting worse and worse as I wanted to do very detailed paintings. And there's this one drawing I've actually done, I'll show it on screen, and it was done in one sitting and I could not move my shoulder for 2 weeks after. So I thought, no, this is a problem. So immediately after this drawing of lions, I went, we're going to have to do a painting here. And what I did was I bought a really big canvas. So this is one of the biggest ones that I have. And I picked a really, really detailed painting so I could do it in multiple sittings, which I did manage to do. This is also a nod towards kind of these romantic, warm colors. I really like light play, and I've done a terrible job of many things in this painting. I think this is when I realized I need to take more time with setting the form and the drawing initially, because I think the proportions are off. I also used white way too early in the painting process, so then I couldn't lift things any higher. Basically, light work, not too good, proportions, not too good, but overall it still gives a very warm, nice, feminine vibe, which I really adore. And the inspiration piece is from a photograph from someone I really like. I don't remember his name, I'll try to find it. And he has these wonderful backstage runway shots that he just captures so beautifully. So it kind of gives me this modern neoclassical feel. So absolutely love it. I think in conclusion, I am not a huge fan of pacing myself and doing things slowly. That's why when I paint in my podcast, I find it really difficult to not do it all in a sitting. But I think I kind of proved myself that I can slow down, which 90% of my comments ask me to do every single video. So yeah, this was done slowly. And I think I can do it now, but I think I'll stick to my faster pieces in general. Lastly, and my most recent piece is Goddess of Beauty, and this was done during my podcast, Like We Will Leave in the Winter was also done. This is also a nod to classical Greek mythology because, again, it is a painting of Venus and or Aphrodite. I think it was an edited photograph that I saw somewhere online and I fell in love with because I think it captured the ridiculousness of modern beauty standards and the fact that even Greek goddesses by today's standards would need some modifications and plastic surgery to be conventionally beautiful. And it kind of shows this inability for us to ever be beautiful with any sort of standards, and the fact that on the other hand beauty is perhaps everywhere. I go into this in a lot more detail in a podcast episode I'll link below, so I chat about this point for about half an hour, so if you want to check that out, that'll be a lot more detailed. But basically for me it kind of captures the ridiculousness of trying to abide fully by today's beauty standards and the fact that there is perhaps beauty in everything. And also because it's something that I've definitely struggled with in my past, I think it kind of helps me process my feelings and process my thoughts a lot better when I capture them in a piece of art. Being as I rarely actually find the time to sit down and paint, this video is an interesting collaboration with ClickUp, who promised to save everyone a day a week, which honestly I could really do with. ClickUp is a site which works surprisingly well with my one girl team, as it does for super large teams, and it's basically an all-in-one workspace. The main reason I've currently turned to it is for time tracking, which is something done in the app itself, as my edits and scripting are currently taking way longer than is reasonable. So I think a little measure of what I'm doing and when is in order and can hopefully help me manage myself better. If you also struggle with having any clue how long your tasks are taking and would love to be more efficient and save time for the things we truly love, especially with summer coming up, you can set yourself up for free with ClickUp as a one-person team with my link below. So yeah, these were all of my oil paintings. I also have kind of pencil drawings, and I also have a lot of digital artwork, which is mostly medical actually, that I've done. But these are the most important pieces to me because they are physical and they always create a vibe that I love in my room. So I think the combination of these artworks, some plants and books, I think is definitely my aesthetic. I don't need much else beyond that to make a room feel like my own. But yeah, I hope that this was entertaining in any shape or form if you also enjoy art. I'm currently in the process of picking my next painting because I need to do a season 3 of my podcast, so that will hopefully be coming soon. But yeah, thank you so much if you made it so far. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Be kind to yourself and others, and don't believe everything you think. Thanks. Bye.